3 episodes in, and we're starting to see the post-premiere woes of RWBY. Shorter episodes! Hey everybody out there in YouTube land, Jake of the OneManBand is back again, and welcome again back to a review of RWBY, the latest RWBY episode of Volume 5. This time we're taking a look at Episode 3. This episode starts off with Blake, and we haven't seen Blake in a while, so it's actually... I'm pretty excited to see what's going to be going on with Blake. Last time we left, she and Ilya had talked a little bit, and Blake had said that her and her father were going to go ahead and pronounce to the public what they had stated, what they had found out from Ilya's scroll. So, hoping to turn the populace as a whole against Adam. And it looks like that's about to take place. Gira is pacing and going over some notes about a speech that he's just about to make. Now, we can tell that he's a bit nervous. He hasn't been a public speaker in probably a very long time. Probably not since he left the White Fang and stepped down from being their grand leader. And with the subject that he's talking about, it is real heavy stuff, so he has to make sure to word things right and to present it correctly, or else the speech can go sour very quickly. However, he's comforted by Kali and Blake, and that helps reassure him that everything's gonna be okay. However, when Sun reassures him, we get a funny little part where, you know, everyone kind of looks at him and is just like, dude, you're gonna break up this family moment? But it almost seems a little bit malicious in some way. Sun's been nothing but polite and helpful to the Belladonna clan, and although Kali looks at him with some form of reverence, Gira looks at him like he just doesn't care, but Blake kind of glares at him sort of in a malicious way. I don't really understand why Blake doesn't like Sun doing anything right now. I mean, what he did was innocent enough with just, you know, saying good luck to, you know, Gira and telling that he's got this, but it just seems... It's funny the looks that he gets from Gira and Kali. But the look he gets from Blake just seems a bit off. I mean, aren't they supposed to be good friends? Maybe even borderlining on girlfriend and boyfriend status again? I mean, I don't know. I hope that in future episodes, when we see these two characters interact together, we at least get something that isn't scorn. And so the Belladonnas and Sun exit their manor, and we see that there's a large group of people that have gathered for this speech. It looks like all the big shots in Menagerie have come out. We see Corsic and Finnick in the crowd, as well as some of the bodyguards dressed in the Belladonna family garb. We see the one bodyguard that we saw in episode 1, as well as 2 others. We also see that there's a lot of press present. You know, people with their scrolls out, using them as cameras, using them as microphones, trying to make sure that they get the scoop that the main Belladonna man is going to be putting out. Now, as Gira begins his speech, he begins it by welcoming everybody and thanking everybody for arriving, and he starts by talking off that no matter who you are, where you're from, or what circumstances you're in, the fall of Beacon was a tragedy to everyone, and was something that shouldn't have happened. And, you know, coming from this guy, you can tell that he really means it, especially since his daughter was at the fall of Beacon and was a witness to the atrocities that happened there. And from that, he segues straight into talking about Adam Torres and how he was one of the leaders that led the attack on Beacon. Although the Big Baddie's identity is still unknown to the Belladonna clan, they know that Adam Torres was a key member in the attack, and that his attack on the on Beacon Academy and its CCT tower not only tarnished the name and the reputation of the White Fang, but all Faunus in general. Now, Gira's talking a lot of sense here. Yes, it is unfair to, like, judge the actions of an entire race off of one person, but when one person does something as big as that, it's going to happen. People are going to look at the Faunus and not be so trusting of them anymore. So Gira's talking sense. Gira talks about how Adam had a spy come to the manor and to spy on him, and they even attacked Blake and Son, you know, injuring the latter. But they were able to recover the spy's scroll, and by the way, the spy's Ilya, if I, you know, I just needed to, you know, clarify that. But they were able to recover her scroll, and on the scroll they discovered everything about Adam's plan, including Adam's usurpation of Sienna Khan as the White Fang leader, which, according to the show chronology episode by episode, has already happened. But news of Sienna Khan's death has not gotten to Menagerie yet. So the people of Menagerie know that Adam is plotting to usurp Sienna Khan and become the leader of the White Fang. Now, does this mean that they're going to believe the story that he's going to spin of a human huntsman killing Sienna Khan? I'm not entirely sure, but I think they're going to be a little bit skeptical of that story with hearing this news from Gira Belladonna, the former leader of the White Fang. So, at least Adam won't have all of Menagerie at his back right off the bat. The scroll also states that the next target of Adam's reign of terror is Haven Academy and its CCT tower, and will happen in about 2 months' time. Gira has already sent a messenger to the governor of Mistral to warn him about this. Now, is this governor actually going to receive the message? Will this messenger somehow be killed either by Salem or one of Adam's agents? Or is this messenger already in cahoots with Adam? Is he going to go to Lionheart and Lionheart won't pass off the information? We're not entirely sure. However, I'm glad to see that Gira is taking steps to not maybe halt Adam's reign of terror, but at least prepare for it and make steps against him. He's starting to rally the people of Menagerie against Adam, and he sent word to Mistral to warn them about an approaching attack. So I'm just glad that people are finally starting to make some freaking sense in this show and actually planning for things that are about to come in the future. Gira states that Adam isn't the paragon of Faunus virtue that a lot of people have made him out to be. He is someone who's only doing what he does to further his own goals. And I wholeheartedly agree with this. If Adam truly cared for Faunus kind, he wouldn't be trying to push them into an all-out war with humanity. Adam only wishes to achieve whatever power he can have and take down as many humans as he can. The thing is, Adam's plan of attacking Haven and trying to eradicate and enslave humanity still doesn't make one lick of sense, except for the whole concept of Faunus superiority. But I always thought Adam to be someone who was smarter than that, someone who had a better plan than that. Is it just that Adam's supposed to be sort of this one-off, shallow-level main antagonist? Or is he plotting for something more and something else? I don't know right now, and hopefully we can get some more information on Adam and I can maybe pick apart his possible plan, say that 5 times fast, in a future episode. However, with Gira's words, he starts to rally the crowd to his cause, and he is stating that what Adam's doing is wrong, and that, you know, Faunus kind has to band together more than ever if they're going to make their place in this world. Not only to best Adam, but also to be on equal level with humans. However, something that Gira says doesn't go over the crowd quite that well. He states that as Faunus, who want to preserve their reputation and help humanity, they should all band together to stop Adam and to stop his slanderous ways of just discrediting the Faunus as a people, and that they should band together, head to Haven, and protect it at all costs. And this is where he kind of loses the crowd. They're kind of like, whoa, that sounds a little bit too drastic. I don't know if it's just that these are a majority of civilians and press people who aren't real fighters, but they seem to be really against that whole thing. It might be the whole thing that like, yeah, I'll back them up, but as soon as it's like, hey, you're coming to the front lines, they're like, oh, hey, not me, I'm just Joe Schmo over here. It might be something along those lines, but I think Gira is going to at least rally a small force that might be able to help out Haven. And who knows, he may have been able to rally quite a big force if Blake had been able to say her spell during this speech. He asked Blake to come up and talk to the people, not only as a former member of the White Fang, but also as a survivor of the Battle of Beacon. She would have had first-hand accounts on the atrocities of what Adam had done and what he was planning to do. However, it is at this exact moment that Ilya makes a dramatic entrance, seeming to pop up out of nowhere under a sheet. I mean, I didn't see the sheet in the crowd before. Was she wrapped up in it like a robe? I mean, it just seems weird that she pops in out of nowhere. Now, Ilya screams out that the Belladonnas are traitors, and they're the type of Faunus that are really keeping the Faunus down, and that Adam is the right way to go. She states, how can the Belladonnas even think of siding with humans that had spent so long keeping the Faunus down? Who had the Faunus, mining their dust, had the Faunus hunted in the kingdoms for just being who they are. And of course, the humans who let her family die in a mining accident. These are her arguments that she uses against the humans. And to be honest, except for the part about her parents, I find her arguments against humanity to be really weak. You see, the problem with Ilya's argument is that a majority of the things that she say happened long ago, upwards of 100 years ago. I don't think in recent history any Faunus has been hunted down by a kingdom of humans just for being Faunus. I mean, we haven't heard anything like that in recent news, and with the Faunus working as slave labor in the mines to mine dust, while it is assumed that the Schnee Dust Company treats their Faunus workers rather poorly, I don't think it's on any form of slavery or anything like that. And, Jacques stated that, he treats his Faunus workers just the same as any other. Now, he probably is lying. He's a slimy piece of shit. However, that doesn't mean every dust company is like that, or every dust mine is like that. Just because Faunus are used as a labor force to do this manual labor doesn't mean that they're being, mistreated. It could just be that that's the only job that they can find and they're willing to take it because it's literally the only job they can get and they have to provide for their family. There's nothing wrong with that. The whole aspect of, Faunus discrimination, we haven't seen any of it. We've been told there's Faunus discrimination, but we haven't seen it. We haven't seen it at all anywhere. Like, physically in front of our face. Now, if we had actually seen it in the show, then I would be a little bit more privy to like, okay, maybe Ilya has some points here. But really, the points that she's making are the points that happened either hundreds of years ago or are kind of maybe not true. So although her words may sway a few people, I think if anyone even takes the time to think about just the things that she said, they'll see, okay, maybe she's kind of full of crap. Plus, she's defending a known terrorist who brought down Beacon Academy, not only killed humans, but also Faunus in that attack. and brought down the CCT network so it sucks all over the world. Plus, he's making a bad name for faunists all around the world, so all faunists around the world are going to have a harder time because of him. So I think no matter what Ilya had said, the damage would have already been done. However, if Ilya really wanted to sway people, why wouldn't she talk about... She probably could have left the whole anecdote and example of her parents dying in a mining accident in. Ilya could have also stated that the humans, after the faunists had fought in their wars and had died for them, they were given menagerie as sort of a supplement nation. You know, this little island that's 4/3 covered by desert and is only inhabitable on 1/4 of it, so they're all cramped. I mean, why didn't she say that? That would have been a much better point. Plus, it would have hit home because they're in menagerie right now. And as much as I would like to give another example of what she could have said, I just really can't find anything in the show that might be used as a good example. The fact is that we've been told that the faunists are discriminated against, but we haven't really been given many examples on why, besides the whole dust mining and dust companies thing. Besides that, all we've really gotten is that they're different from humanity, so humanity doesn't understand them, which, you know, was kind of phased out hundreds of years ago, and that they were given menagerie, just a small bit of land to live on. Besides that, we haven't seen any just small forms of discrimination. By the way, Cardin bullying Velvet doesn't count because, as stated in the show, he bullies everyone, including John. So I personally think this whole argument could have been made better if we would have had better examples of faunist discrimination, and I would have felt like it would have hit home more if I wasn't so sure that everyone's probably going to go to Gira's side. And if everyone goes to Ilya and Adam's side, I'm going to be really confused and just be like, this is some plot bullshit going on. One of the biggest problems with Ilya and Adam's way of thinking is their idea of progress. And I think Gira sums up what true progress is in one line. He states that progress, true progress, takes time and cooperation. But Ilya's having none of it. She will not side with humans at all. I wonder how she would react if she knew that Adam was working with humans to achieve his goals. That might be worth a watch, or, you know, what's coming up in a future episode. But the way that Gira presents how true progress happens is true. Only true progress can really only be obtained through time and cooperation. Nothing changed overnight. Rome wasn't built in a day. And if you're going to take violent actions to achieve something, you might get it quicker, but there's going to be a lot more fallout from it. If you take the more peaceful route, it may take longer, but there won't be as much fallout. Essentially, it's just look at the civil rights movement in America in the 1960s, and that's pretty much what you get. However, as Ilya is stating her final piece, we see that Sun is sneaking through the crowd and actually tries to jump her. You know, he still owes her for the wound that she gave him a while back. Yet, she's able to use her weapon to, I guess, latch onto a street lamp and just disappear? I mean, we don't even see her actively running away. She's just like, and it flies off and then it's just gone. And I'm just like, I know she can change color, but she can't turn invisible. I think Ilya's escape would be better emphasized if we actually saw her darting away and then having the guards that are like, oh, after her, and they go after her. Of course, leaving Corsic and Finnick to, you know, slyly smile to one another, because they're in on it. They're all in on it. So we leave Menagerie with two opposing viewpoints and a decision to be made. I hope that we get back to Menagerie at least in a few episodes. That way we can see the fallout of this press meeting. However, the next part of the episode is one that I wanted to get to as soon as possible. We're back to Team Ranger and Oscar after the bomb that was dropped at the ending of the first episode, with Oscar relaying that he is also Professor Ozpin. Now, the members of Team Ranger are a bit confused, but still curious. They're wondering how it actually works. Is it possession? Reincarnation? Is it something like that? They're not really sure. It's gonna take some time for everyone to adjust to this change. So Crow gives some good advice on how they should just leave him be and have him explain himself. Now, there is a slight part in this scene where everyone sits down that RWBY kind of gives Oscar this look, and they share this look with one another. Now, I'm not sure if it's some sort of just instant budding friendship, because RWBY is now somehow really good at making friends. I guess she's out of her socially awkward phase. But it may be because she instantly is like, okay, this kid has Ozpin in his mind somehow, and she remembers how Ozpin was so nice to her, so good to her, and how they had that friendship back in the Beacon Saga. So she might now have this sort of instant friendship connection with Oscar/Ozpin. And I think that's actually pretty cool that Oscar/Ozpin is going to have this sort of friend who's there, who totally believes their story and is going to try their best to be there for him. Of course, it might just be shipping is happening. It could also be that. And we see here in this scene that there's more than meets the eye to the whole Oscar/Ozpin thing. Not only can Oscar hear Ozpin in his mind, but Ozpin can actually take control of Oscar's mind for short durations of time and actually speak through Oscar. And let me just say, the voice actor who does Oscar's voice, I forget his name, but he is amazing. He does an amazing job of mimicking Shannon McCormick's portrayal of Ozpin so well that it just seems seamless. And I know that Shannon McCormick probably also spoke all these lines, and they mixed the two lines together, the two recordings together, because there are some points where Ozpin's voice comes out at the same time Oscar's does, but the way that this voice actor of Oscar speaks, he speaks exactly like Ozpin does, and with the emphasis that Ozpin did. And I just find it so amazing, and I just have to give him props for that. And let me just say that I think it's a real cute quip on how Ozpin is so glad that Team Ranger has kept their sense of humor. I personally think that's another quip on, like, we're putting comedy back in RWBY. And once again, I'm just so glad to see some more comedy in RWBY, because it needs comedy to alleviate the stressful moments that we have. And I know I talked about this a lot in the first episode review, so I'm just going to leave it at that and continue on. And it's right here that we get to learn a bit of Ozpin's backstory. Now, we have been theorizing and thinking about what's Ozpin's story for a long time. A lot of theories were going out that he's a reincarnation of one of the gods, he's the wizard from the Maiden story, or he's something completely different. However, we learn something with this backstory. He is cursed, and has been cursed for thousands of years. His curse makes him sort of reincarnate in a way in the mind of a like-minded soul whenever he dies. And over time, his memories are then absorbed into that soul, and he sort of then becomes that person. He doesn't take over the new host. The Ozpin, the cursed entity that is Ozpin, does not take control of the new host. He is simply absorbed by them, and that person gains the memories, gains all the knowledge, and then continues on with his mission. And what is Ozpin's mission? Well, his mission is to stop and defeat Salem. He was cursed thousands of years ago by the gods because he failed to stop Salem. And when he said that, I was a bit confused. So does that mean anyone who's tried to stop Salem is cursed in that same way? Or did he do it in such a way that he incurred the wrath of the gods? Did he just totally ignore Salem and just be like, you know what? Not my problem. I ain't gonna be listening to you gods. Not gonna stop the scary lady. And then she did something terrible and they're just like, bruh, you could have stopped her. Why didn't you? You know what? You're cursed now and you're gonna be forced to walk the earth for thousands of years until you can stop her. But this new information gives us so much more on Ozpin. We have learned that he is thousands of years old, so he has seen the rise and the fall of kingdoms. He has seen pretty much it all. And he has gained experience, information, and probably a lot of info on Salem and the Grimm over these years. Now, does this mean one of his previous incarnations was the King of Vale, the guy who started the Huntsman Academies? I would think so, because if we remember back during that World of Remnant video, the King of Vale had the cane. And it seems that that cane is symbolic for the reincarnation of the Ozpin entity. Now, having Ozpin back really excites Team Ranger, especially Nora. She's just like, now that we have Ozpin, we can just march straight up to Lionheart and order him to go out and get Raven and get the Spring Maiden. However, Ozpin doesn't like this idea. As much as he would like to do that, and as much as he knows that he has put trusted lieutenants in the position of headmasters of the academies, from what Crow has told Ozpin of their encounter, Ozpin knows something's wrong with Lionheart. So, I'm glad that we get to see a aware Ozpin. This is so much better than the RWBY Chibi Ozpin who's just oblivious to everything. And I think for a while in the Beacon Saga, he was kind of portrayed as that guy who was just, he didn't know what was going on, he wasn't aware, when I think he was, it just wasn't presented very well, if that makes any sense. So now the creators of RWBY, the makers of RWBY, they're physically showing, okay, Ozpin kind of knows the dealio. He knows his people well, and if something seems amiss, he's not just gonna charge head on. He's never been that kind of person. He doesn't send the banner bearers forward, he sends the scouts. It's a callback to Season 2, by the way. So, Ozpin and Crow have decided that they're gonna play their cards close to their chest until they have a better hand. And so, with that, they start on a new plan. Crow is going to start to look around Mistral to find some huntsmen that aren't in the pockets of the government, who probably aren't on active contracts right now, are just resting, or maybe are a bit more criminal than huntsmen now. All we know that he's going to be gathering up a list of huntsmen to gather allies to go after Raven. And we have a funny little quip of him resting his feet on the coffee table just to have it break. Once again, we see a little bit of Crow semblance coming out, the bad luck semblance, and a little bit of comedy, which is always great. For everyone else, Oscar and Team Ranger included, it's time for training! Although Ozpin can only take control of Oscar for a limited amount of time, he still is going to be able to train everyone to make them better fighters. Now, he emphasizes that RWBY needs to learn hand-to-hand combat, CQC, close quarters combat, because she is useless without her crescent rose, which I am totally for. She needs to learn close quarters combat. However, I'm not sure if hand-to-hand combat is best suited for RWBY, judging by what we've seen of her in the past volumes, plus what we saw of her in the Yang character short. She doesn't take well to hand-to-hand combat. I still think that RWBY should concentrate more on learning to fight with a small dagger or a knife in close quarters combat rather than her fists. Or at least learn aura manipulation with hand-to-hand combat like Ren does, you know, that would be kind of useful. He also states that although Jean has made leaps and bounds and is strong, he still hasn't discovered his semblance, and that they need to work on that. So, does this finally mean we're going to see Jean's semblance in Volume 5? To be honest, I'm kind of over it, guys. It's been teased so much at this point that I'm just kind of over it. When it happens, but I'm not going to be waiting for it to happen as eagerly as I had in previous volumes. Ozpin also states that Nora and Ren, all of them, have to continue working on their forms because they can still get better. I honestly think that Ren and Nora need to learn to fight solo without the reliance on either one, because whenever they have fought together, they've been an almost unstoppable team. However, when they fight separately, they're not as strong as you would think they'd be. So I think those two should concentrate on fighting solo in order to gain stronger. And we get to learn some cool stuff about the whole Ozpin reincarnation in Oscar. Although Oscar is untrained at this point, both in body and in aura, in time, Ozpin's muscle memory will come to Oscar. So, how he fought Cinder at the end of Volume 3, Oscar's gonna be doing that one day. And, not only that, think about this. Thousands of years of experience are going to be put into Oscar. So, he is going to be a devastating force against the forces of evil. With that much experience and that much training that's going to be put into his mind and his muscles, he's going to be amazing. And although Ozpin was bested by Cinder, somehow, I'm still trying to figure that out, I think Oscar is going to be a little bit more harder to kill due to the fact that he's younger, and he might even change up his fighting style compared to what we saw of Ozpin back in Volume 3. And we see that Ozpin's control over Oscar isn't something that can just gracefully be eased out to. Sometimes it just split second happens, and that's what happens. Oscar comes back into control while Ozpin was in a very awkward position on a chair, and well, they collapse. So, well, Oscar's got a lot of work to do to work on his strength, his aura, and his finesse. However, I'm actually quite excited to see Oscar grow as a character. The more I see of Oscar, the more I'm actually caring about him as a character and hope to see more of him in the future. The third and final story of this episode is getting back to Weiss. Last time we left Weiss, she had just been in a airship crash, and she had been picked up by Raven's roaming raids of bandits. And we see that Weiss is tied up in a cage in Raven's camp. Kind of crazy that they not only have her tied up, but also in a cage. Couldn't the cage just suit itself? I mean, maybe they're not taking any chances because she is a huntsman and is a Schnee. So it might just be that. And when Weiss starts to demand where she is and starts asking questions, we finally get the entrance of the Spring Maiden herself, whose name I believe is Vernal or something like that. It doesn't sound like a very feminine name is what I'm getting to. It just sounds masculine. But, I mean, she is pretty tough. She's a bandit, after all, and she looks the part. She almost has a Furiosa from Mad Max Fury Road look to her, which I think kind of adds to her badassness and her look on how she's supposed to be this hardcore bandit chick. And we see that she's messing around with Weiss's weapon and seems to have taken a liking to it. I mean, it's a mighty fine rapier, and I think it's better quality than anything the bandits are going to get. But just to see that weapon in someone else's hands, just swinging it around willy-nilly, it kind of pained me, because that weapon is a weapon of finesse. I mean, and by the way Weiss, takes it, I think that she kind of shares in that mentality that it's just like, that's my weapon. Don't disrespect it. Something that I absolutely love about this scene is that as Vernal and Weiss start to talk, we can tell that Weiss isn't intimidated by these people at all. Although they completely have her at their mercy, Weiss isn't really budging at all. She's playing it cool, almost like she's maybe been in this sort of situation before. But then again, she did grow up in Atlas where she had to put on a face the whole time. You know, the whole Mirror Mirror song story. So she's probably using that skill right now in order to not show weakness in front of these bandits. We learn from Vernal that although the tribe doesn't, you know, tap into human trafficking all that much, they are pretty excited that a Schnee pretty much landed right on their doorstep. And they're going to ransom Weiss back to her father, which is a prediction I made back in the previous episode, but we all know that it's not going to get to that point, because Weiss talks about how, yeah, I'm a Schnee, but you gotta know that my sister is gonna come for me. She's in Mistral right now. One of the best soldiers and operatives of Ironwood's army is Winter Schnee, Weiss's sister, and that once she learns that Weiss never arrived, she's gonna be coming for Weiss, and nothing is going to stop Winter. However, the bandits laugh at this and state that Atlas retreated. They're no longer on Anima anymore. They went back to Atlas because of the closed borders. Now, I can't tell if they're lying or telling the truth, but at this point, I don't think it really matters. By the time Winter would have been able to get the information that Weiss didn't get to her destination and was able to track Weiss down, I think Weiss would already be back in Atlas in the clutches of Papa Schnee. So this information does seem to discourage Weiss a little bit. However, once the bandits go to sleep and she gets some time to herself, we see that her semblance is still mighty fine, and she can activate one glyph without the use of dust, and that's her summoning glyph. And we see her summon her little knight in armor, and we can see that by the way the look that she has on her face, she's not going to be there much longer. Why does Weiss need to rescue her when she can rescue herself? Now, I think it's really cool that Weiss has this ability to conjure up these little, to conjure this white knight, and he can be colossal, he can be small, because I think that can really work to her advantage. Not if she's fighting big foes, she can make him huge. If she needs him to do more like stealthily things, maybe like flip a switch or something, she can make him small. So this White Knight character, this White Knight summon, is, I think, a great power-up for Weiss to have, and it gives Weiss hope that she's going to be able to get out. So, with that, the episode ends, and we're left with a lot of answers and a lot of questions. One of the biggest things that I'm looking forward to in future episodes is, honestly, the Blake story. Blake's story doesn't seem to be concentrating all that much on fighting or anything like that. It almost seems like Blake's story is going to be more of a form of political / espionage drama type deal, where it's going to be a lot of opposing forces clashing heads, not physically in battle, but with politics and trying to sway the masses to their ways. Ilya's going to be working toward getting Menagerie to back Adam, while Blake is going to be working on getting Menagerie to back her father and to help Haven Academy. And to be honest, when Gira got up on that stage and he started to you know, do that awesome speech and all that stuff, I was scared that Ilya was going to come out and just assassinate him with her weapon. I was real scared for Gira right there. And I'm so glad that that did not happen. Gira needs to stay alive, at least for a little bit longer, so he can continue to make his point and at least maybe try to rally the people of Menagerie against the radicalist White Fang. And also, I'm real interested on what's gonna happen when Ilya finds out that Adam is working with humans to gain what he wants. Since she seems to have such a hatred towards humans after after the experience that she had as a child, is she going to understand why Adam's doing it? Does she already know and just doesn't care? To be honest, I think she doesn't know, and that her finding out is going to be a sort of reflection moment on, like, this guy who I put all my faith into was lying to me. He was lying to me the whole time. Can I trust him? Can I trust anything? And I think she's gonna have that moment that Blake had during the Black trailer back in Volume 1, where she's gonna have to make a decision, either to stay with Adam and hold the course, or to leave and seek something better. But it seems with Blake's story, Blake is really taking a back seat, at least in the few episodes that she's been in right now. It's mostly been Gira and Ilya doing the talking and doing the progression. Blake's just kind of been a bystander. And, you know, compared to the Blake that we had in Volume 4, who was sort of pushing the plot, it just seems weird to have such a submissive Blake. So I hope that in future episodes she starts to actually do stuff. And I want Sun to do stuff too. They need to talk and get their relationship in order. And judging by where Weiss is right now, being held prisoner inside Raven's camp, I think the chance of her coming in contact with Yang is really starting to ramp up. I mean, if Yang is in the next episode, she's probably going to make it to the camp. So either Weiss is going to escape before that, or they're actually going to see each other and something's going to go down. So I'm hoping that Weiss holds off from her escape attempt until he gets there, because I want her and Yang to have some sort of bonding time and have some sort of character connection going on between them two. And the Ranger story, I think they're going to concentrate on training. So a lot of training I think is going to happen off screen, but we're going to explore more into, you know, Ozpin and his backstory and how Oscar is taking all this, and maybe explore, I'm going to think, Ruby and Jean more. Because since Nora and Ren had such precedence in Volume 4, they're probably going to take a step back and be more of the comedic duo that they were in the Beacon trilogy, and the story and development is going to concentrate on Oscar / Ozpin, Ruby, and Jean. And I'm hoping that we get to see some more comedic moments in the series with Crow, with Nora, with maybe Blake even. I love that the comedy is in Volume 5. So, final verdict for this episode. It was short, but it worked pretty well. But some of the things in it I just didn't like. The whole Ilya's argument for Adam just seemed very, very weak. The Weiss parts were good, and definitely the stuff with Ozpin and Oscar was amazing. And of course, the humor being in the episode was good. I would give this episode a 7 out of 10. So, it's definitely going in the right direction, and I'm just glad that although the episodes are shorter, we're still getting good character development and plot development. This volume has not stagnated once, and it feels like it's moving forward at a good pace, and it isn't taking such leaps that Volume 4 did with its timeline and plot. So, overall, a great episode, and I can't wait for next week. Hey, everybody out there in YouTube land. Thanks for watching this review of RWBY Volume 5, Episode 3. I hope that you enjoyed. Be sure to like and favorite if you did. Subscribe if you feel inclined to. Check out some other videos that I've done. There's going to be links down below taking you to playlists. Also, links down below taking you to Twitter and Patreon, all that good stuff. And until next time, my friends, I need you to be a good person, tip your waitresses, keep moving forward, and I'll see you guys next time I'm out there in YouTube land. I'll see you then.